You are here, not by accident. Something inside you was stirred, and that stirring led you to this exact moment. The very fact that these words find you now means a hidden door in your consciousness has already opened. You have crossed an unseen threshold. What you once thought of as coincidence is, in truth, alignment. The signs that surround you, the whispers in your intuition, the synchronicities that won't let you go. They are not random. They are evidence. Evidence that your quantum jump key has just activated. And once it activates, nothing in your reality remains the same. You are not lost. You are being redirected. I want you to hear this as more than just a comforting phrase. I want you to feel it in the marrow of your being, because everything in your life that looks like confusion, everything that feels like delay, every plan that seems to have collapsed right under your feet, it is not evidence that you've gone astray. It is evidence that something greater has taken the wheel. Think about the times when you swore you knew where you were going, only for life to scatter your carefully drawn maps. You didn't get the job you thought would define you. The relationship you believed was your forever came to a sudden end. The door you were sure was your entry into purpose slammed shut. And in those moments, didn't it feel like the universe had abandoned you? Didn't it feel like all the signs, all the prayers, all the intentions had somehow betrayed you? Yet look back with the clarity of hindsight, and you will see what felt like betrayal was protection. What seemed like the end was the bend in the road that carried you exactly where you needed to be. This is the paradox of the quantum jump. The path you think you are losing is often the one that must dissolve so the higher one can appear. It is never about punishment, and it is never about failure. It is a redirection into alignment. Imagine standing at the edge of a maze. From within, all you see are walls. You turn left, and it's a dead end. You turn right, and it's blocked. Each stop feels like a mistake. But if you could rise above, if you could see from the perspective of the whole, you would realize each so-called mistake is actually funneling you closer to the exit. This is the hidden logic of the divine path. When you feel lost, you are closer to the jump than you realize, because what feels like lostness is simply your old compass dissolving. The compass that used to point north no longer works because the magnet of your destiny has shifted. You are being pulled by a frequency higher than you can measure with your mind. This is why your plans don't seem to hold. It's why the structures that once felt secure now feel hollow. It's why the comfort zones that used to soothe you now feel suffocating. You are not malfunctioning. You are reorienting. Think of a bird in migration. It leaves the familiar forest, the nest it once called home, and launches into skies that stretch endlessly over oceans and continents. Does the bird know exactly where it's going? Not in the way you think. It doesn't have a map, a calendar, a to-do list. What it has is an inner compass, an instinct coded into its very being, and that instinct knows the way. Even when the bird's eyes cannot see the destination, you are that bird now. The reason you feel unmoored is because your wings have just spread for flight. The ground you once clung to is no longer your place, and though the horizon looks uncertain, your inner compass is carrying you home to a reality more expansive than you can yet imagine. This redirection often arrives disguised as delay. Maybe you've been waiting for a door to open, a career breakthrough, a creative opportunity, a chance at love, and it seems like nothing is moving. But pause. What if the delay is not denial? What if it is preparation? What if the reason you haven't walked through the door is because the room on the other side isn't ready for you yet? Or more profoundly, because you are not yet ready to walk in as the version of yourself who belongs there? Timing is not cruelty. It is choreography. The universe is arranging the stage so that when you step into it, the lights are already on and the audience is already waiting. And yes, sometimes the redirection comes as what looks like collapse, the job loss that shakes your financial stability, the illness that forces you to slow down, the friendship that suddenly dissolves, and you wonder, why now? Why me? But let me whisper the truth. Collapse is often construction in disguise. Just as a building must sometimes be demolished so the foundation can hold something taller, Your old structures must sometimes fall so the architecture of your higher life can rise. You are not being dismantled. You are being rebuilt. There is something profoundly mystical in realizing that your wrong turns are actually the hands of destiny steering you. Consider the relationships that didn't last. At the time, you may have felt heartbroken, even cursed. But now, can you see how those endings carved space for a deeper connection to yourself? Consider the job you didn't get. At the time, it felt like rejection. But now, can you see how it freed you to pursue something you would never have dared otherwise? This is the hidden grace of redirection. It looks like loss until it reveals itself as liberation. And here is the deeper paradox. You are never truly lost, because every step, even the ones you regret, is woven into the tapestry of your becoming. The mistakes you thought ruined you were the very experiences that sharpened your wisdom. The failures you wanted to erase were the very training grounds that prepared you for this jump. You see, destiny wastes nothing. The universe recycles every misstep into momentum. What you call wrong was actually a rehearsal. What you call wasted was actually an investment. Nothing in your story is thrown away. So when you feel like you don't know where you're going, understand, you are exactly where you are meant to be. The confusion you feel is not a sign of failure. It is the sign of transition, and transitions always feel messy because they are birth processes. The seed breaking its shell feels like destruction from the inside, but from the outside it looks like emergence. The caterpillar dissolving in the cocoon feels like death, but from the outside it looks like transformation. The self you thought you were is dissolving, yes, but only so the self you truly are can step forward. This is your redirection. This is the sign your quantum jump key has activated, and the urgency is real, because the more you resist this redirection, the more discomfort you will feel. The old paths will keep closing until you accept the invitation to walk the new one. Life will keep removing the doors that do not belong to you, until you finally turn toward the one that does. This is not punishment. This is love in its most relentless form. Love refusing to let you settle for less than who you are destined to be. So when you find yourself standing in the ruins of your plans, do not despair. Stand still. Breathe. Look around with new eyes, because in that very moment, the new path is already forming beneath your feet. You are not lost. You are being redirected. And this redirection is not small. It is not random. It is the signal that the leap is near. The sign that your quantum jump key has turned in the lock and the door is opening. The question is not whether the path exists. The question is whether you will trust it enough to walk. This is happening because your inner frequency has outgrown the old container. You can feel it, can't you? The places where you once felt at ease now feel cramped. The conversations you used to enjoy no longer nourish you. Even your own routines, the ones that gave you comfort and stability, now feel like cages instead of sanctuaries. This is not because something is wrong with you. This is not because you've become too restless or too impatient. It is because you are evolving, and evolution will always make the old shell too small. Think of the snake shedding its skin. To the snake, the skin was once a perfect fit. It provided protection, identity, and structure. But when the growth inside demanded more space, the skin could no longer serve, and so it cracked. The snake did not weep over the loss of its old skin. It simply moved forward, raw and tender, into the larger self it was destined to embody. That is you now. You are the snake, and your quantum jump key is the force that is splitting the old layer open. Have you noticed how you feel the tug of misalignment in the most ordinary ways? Maybe it's the job that pays the bills but drains your spirit. You wake up with heaviness, wondering why even success feels hollow. That is not laziness, nor is it ingratitude. It is your frequency signaling that the role you once agreed to play is no longer true to your vibration. Or maybe it's the relationship that once filled your heart, but now feels stagnant. The conversations loop in circles. The laughter doesn't flow as easily. The intimacy feels like obligation rather than expansion. You may think something is broken, but nothing is broken. Your vibration has simply risen, and the container that once matched it can no longer keep pace. This is the paradox. Growth rarely feels like triumph in the moment. More often it feels like discontent. It feels like restlessness, boredom, or even grief. The things that once held meaning seem shallow. The routines that once felt grounding feel suffocating. But this emptiness is not a void to fear. It is space being cleared. Just as a plant must be repotted when its roots outgrow the soil, you too are being pulled into a new vessel large enough for your expansion. If you stay in the old pot, the roots will twist around themselves, choking their own life. But if you dare to move into the bigger container, you will find room to flourish, room to stretch into the fullness that has been waiting for you all along. There is nothing wrong with the old container. Honor it. It served you well. The friendships that once supported you, the jobs that once sustained you, the beliefs that once protected you, they were never mistakes. They were the perfect resonance for who you were at that level of frequency. But growth requires release, and release always feels like loss until you understand its purpose. When the child leaves behind toys, it may feel like leaving joy, but in truth, it is stepping into new forms of wonder. When the adolescent outgrows childish ways, it may feel like awkwardness, but in truth, it is stepping into new layers of power. So too, when your frequency outgrows its old container, it may feel like emptiness, but in truth, it is initiation. And yet, how often do you cling to what no longer fits? How often do you try to squeeze yourself back into spaces that cannot hold you anymore, simply because they feel familiar? That is the trap of comfort. You think, maybe I can adjust, maybe I can shrink a little, maybe I can tolerate it for just a while longer, but your soul cannot shrink. It can only stretch, and the discomfort you feel is the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. You may try to silence the call with distraction, with busyness, with denial, but the call will grow louder, the old life will grow tighter, and eventually the cracks will force you to move. This is not cruelty, this is grace. For if the old container were too comfortable, you would never leave it. Think about the butterfly. Before it spreads its wings, it must dissolve inside the cocoon. To the human eye, it looks like chaos, the form breaking down, the identity melting away, but to the butterfly, it is destiny. The cocoon is both the cradle and the coffin. It nurtures, and then it becomes too small. The butterfly must break through, not because it hates the cocoon, but because it has become more than the cocoon can contain, and the struggle of breaking free is not punishment. It is the strengthening of the wings. Without the resistance of the cocoon, the butterfly would emerge too weak to fly. This is the hidden wisdom of outgrowing. The resistance that frustrates you is also the very force that equips you for flight. Your quantum jump key activates in precisely this way. It does not ask you to destroy the old container in bitterness. It asks you to honor it, and then release it. The friendships that drift apart, the environments that feel dull, the habits that no longer satisfy, they are not failure. They are finished chapters, and your role is not to force them open again, but to bless them as teachers who walked with you for a season, because in blessing the old you make space for the new, and the new is already on its way. There is urgency here, because to ignore this call is to stagnate, and stagnation is a slow kind of suffering. The body knows when it has stayed too long in an environment that drains it. The soul knows when it is dimming itself to fit into rooms that cannot hold its brightness. The discomfort you feel now is not an enemy. It is the signal flare of your destiny. It is the sign that your quantum jump is ready, and the longer you resist, the louder the signal will become. You may feel it as anxiety, as restlessness, as dissatisfaction, but beneath all of those feelings is one truth. You have outgrown what once contained you, and now you are being asked to rise. So trust the frequency that is expanding within you. Trust that it knows where it is carrying you even if you cannot see the destination. Trust that the very restlessness you feel is proof that your wings are pressing against the cocoon, proof that your roots are demanding more soil, proof that your soul is pulling you toward a container vast enough for your becoming. And when you trust, you will find the courage to step out of the old without regret, and into the new without fear. Because you are not losing anything, you are expanding into everything. This is your initiation, and the timing is perfect. Your quantum jump key has been activated, and your only task now is to let yourself grow beyond the walls you once called home. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering the truth of who you've always been. Feel how this statement lands in your heart. Because the world has taught you to believe that growth means acquisition, that transformation means adding something you don't yet have. You have been told to strive, to hustle, to become worthy of love, of success, of awakening. But here is the paradox. Everything you are striving to become, you already are. The key is not to add more, but to strip away the illusions that have hidden your essence. Think back to when you were a child. Before the world layered its stories upon you, you laughed without permission. You sang without needing to sound perfect. You dreamed without limits. You trusted your instincts before anyone told you they weren't practical. You lived close to the frequency of truth, because you hadn't yet been taught to doubt yourself. And then slowly, piece by piece, the forgetting began. Someone told you your imagination was silly. Someone told you your voice wasn't strong enough. Someone told you your dreams were too big. And with each word, a veil was laid over your memory. You didn't stop being infinite. You simply stopped remembering. The quantum jump is the dissolving of those veils. That is why it feels less like becoming and more like awakening. Have you noticed those moments of sudden clarity, when a truth rises inside you that feels both brand new and strangely familiar? You hear a phrase or you feel a surge of intuition, and a part of you whispers, "I've known this all along." That is memory, not invention. That is the ancient self inside you stirring awake. The déjà vu you experience, the dreams that feel more real than your waking life, the synchronicities that make you pause in wonder. These are not coincidence. They are fragments of your remembering, keys clicking back into place, codes activating in your very DNA. And here is the beautiful irony. In order to remember, you must first unlearn. You must peel back the layers of conditioning that convinced you were powerless, that you were separate, that you were incomplete. This peeling is not always easy. It feels like loss. You may feel grief as identities dissolve, as roles you've clung to no longer fit, as masks you've worn fall away. But this grief is sacred. It is the grief of a traveler realizing the map was never the territory. It is the grief of a dreamer waking to the fact that the dream was too small. And just beyond that grief, the truth stands waiting. You are whole, you are vast. You are already what you seek. Consider this paradox. The more you search for your true self, the more elusive it seems. Yet the moment you stop grasping, stop striving, stop demanding, the truth arises effortlessly, because you cannot chase what you already are. It is like trying to find your own shadow. It has never left you. This is why silence and stillness are so powerful. In stillness, the layers fall away. In silence, the remembering whispers through. That is why so many awakenings happen not in noise but in quiet, while staring at a sunset, while breathing deeply in meditation, while resting in the space between thoughts. In those moments, the remembering rises, not as something learned but as something known, and you can see the evidence in your daily life. Notice how your intuition speaks before your mind catches up. You sense someone is about to call, and then the phone rings. You walk into a room and feel the energy before a single word is spoken. You face a decision, and though logic offers no clarity, a deep knowing guides you anyway. That knowing is the remembering. It is the voice of the self you have always been. The self beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond illusion. Every time you honor that knowing, you strengthen the bridge between forgetting and remembering. Do not mistake remembering for regression. You are not returning to innocence in the sense of naivety. You are returning to essence. You are returning with the wisdom of your journey, with the scars that have become symbols of resilience, with the experiences that have refined your perception. The child you once were laughed freely. Yes, but now you laugh with the depth of one who has known sorrow. The child you once were trusted instinctively. Yes, but now you trust with the strength of one who has walked through betrayal. This is the maturity of remembering. It carries both the light of innocence and the weight of experience. And here is where urgency enters, because the remembering is not passive. It calls you into responsibility. When you begin to remember your true nature, you can no longer hide in smallness. You can no longer claim you are powerless. You can no longer shrink yourself to fit into roles that dishonor your essence. To remember is to be accountable to your own magnificence. It means that every time you choose fear over courage, every time you choose silence over truth, every time you choose conformity over authenticity, you feel the sting of betrayal, not from the world but from yourself, because deep down you know better, you know who you are. This is why your quantum jump key activates with such intensity. It is not gently nudging you, it is shaking you awake. It is pulling away the layers faster than ever, because the time for sleeping is over. The collective shift requires your remembrance now, not late, and you can feel it in your bones, the urgency, the acceleration, the sense that life is moving faster than your mind can process. That is not chaos, that is remembering, taking root, that is destiny, demanding that you show up as who you have always been, not who you pretended to be. So allow the remembering, let the masks fall, let the roles dissolve, let the veils lift. Trust the flashes of intuition, the moments of clarity, the whispers that feel both strange and familiar. They are not illusions, they are homecoming. And as you allow it, you will realize something extraordinary. The self you've been searching for has been here all along, patiently waiting for you to notice. You have not been walking toward yourself. You have been circling around yourself, peeling back the layers until finally, inevitably, you remember. This is not the end of your becoming. This is the beginning of your return. And every step you take from this moment on is not about becoming more, but about becoming less burdened by illusion, less distracted by noise, less entangled in stories that never belonged to you. What remains when all of that falls away is the purest truth. You are whole, you are luminous, and you are already what you seek. Your quantum jump key has not given you something new. It has simply unlocked what has always been yours. And now the door stands open. The only question is, will you step through as the self you have remembered? This is happening because your observation is shifting. The way you look at life, the way you notice what is before you, has begun to tilt, and that tilt is everything. For so long you may have thought reality was something fixed, something external, something happening to you. But now, in subtle ways, you are beginning to sense the truth, that reality is not fixed, and it does not simply happen. Reality reflects, it bends, it mirrors, it echoes the gaze you bring to it. And as your gaze changes, so too does the world around you. Think about how, when you focus on lack, all you seem to notice is what is missing. The empty spaces grow louder, the gaps feel endless, and no matter how much you try to fill them, your eyes return again and again to what is not there. And then, when you shift, even slightly, when you choose to notice what is present, what is abundant, what is working, suddenly the world begins to open. Opportunities reveal themselves where you once saw only walls. Connections appear where you once felt alone. Solutions rise up where before you only noticed problems. Nothing out there changed. What shifted was your observation, and your observation became the key. This is the paradox of the jump. It is less about changing the external and more about changing the lens. Have you ever taken a photograph and adjusted the focus just slightly? At first the image is blurred, distorted, confusing. But as you turn the focus ring, shapes become sharp, colors become vivid, details reveal themselves. The world was always there. You simply hadn't adjusted your gaze. That is exactly what your soul is doing now. Your quantum jump key has begun to twist the lens, and slowly, reality is sharpening into a new dimension. But the shift is not always comfortable. When you first start to change your observation, the old lens you may feel doubt. Am I just imagining this? Is this too good to be true? Can I really trust what I'm sensing? That doubt is natural, because your mind has been trained for years, even decades, to look through the filter of limitation. It has been taught to scan for danger, for scarcity, for reasons why things cannot work. And when you begin to shift, the mind panics, because it cannot control what it has not yet categorized. But the very discomfort is evidence that the shift is happening. The key is turning. The lens is moving. And haven't you felt it already? Moments where your perspective shifted in an instant, and everything looked different. Think of a time when you were caught in frustration, only to suddenly see the situation with compassion, and in that moment, peace returned. Or when you were worried about something small, then remembered the vastness of life, and suddenly the worry dissolved into insignificance. Or when you were trapped in a problem, and instead of asking why me, you asked, what is this teaching me? And the answer appeared like a revelation. That is the power of observation. It is not passive, it is creative. And here lies the mystery. Observation is not just noticing reality, it is shaping it. Physics has hinted at this, that the act of observing changes the behavior of what is observed. Spiritual wisdom has whispered it for millennia, that the eye through which you see the world is the same eye through which the world sees you. When you look with fear, life reflects fear. When you look with wonder, life reflects wonder. When you look with love, life reflects love. Your gaze is not just a witness. It is a brush painting the canvas of your experience. This is why the quantum jump cannot be forced by effort alone. You cannot grind your way into a new reality while still gazing through the lens of scarcity. You cannot demand transformation while still observing yourself as broken. You cannot leap into expansion while still focusing on limitation. The leap begins not in action, but in perception. The shift begins the moment you dare to see differently. And here is the paradox. Sometimes nothing changes, and yet everything changes. The same room, the same job, the same body, the same life, but seen with new eyes, it becomes unrecognizable. The burden becomes a teacher. The challenge becomes a doorway. The delay becomes divine timing. And suddenly what was once unbearable becomes sacred. Nothing moved but your gaze, and yet the whole world feels altered. This is the subtlety of the jump, and also its power, because once your gaze shifts, reality cannot help but follow. Notice how children see the world. A cardboard box becomes a castle. A patch of grass becomes an entire jungle. A cloud becomes a dragon. A spaceship, a story. The child is not delusional. The child is observing through the lens of imagination, of possibility, of openness. And because the lens is different, the experience is different. That same cardboard box in an adult's eyes is nothing but trash. Same box, different gaze, different reality. Your quantum jump is calling you back to that freedom of sight, to the gaze that reveals the extraordinary within the ordinary. And yet there is urgency in this, because your observation is not neutral. To continue observing through the lens of fear, of scarcity, of smallness, is to continue creating a reality that echoes it. If you refuse the shift, life will keep reflecting the same loops, the same patterns, the same struggle. That is why you may have felt trapped, repeating cycles you swore you would escape. The cycles did not repeat because you were cursed. They repeated because your gaze was still aligned with them. Change the gaze, and the loop dissolves. So the invitation is clear. Begin to watch yourself watch. Notice where your eyes linger. Notice what you magnify. Notice what you dismiss. Are you always scanning for what is missing? Are you always fixating on what is wrong? Or are you willing to let your gaze soften, to let it notice the hidden beauty, the quiet abundance, the subtle miracles unfolding around you, because they are there, waiting for your eyes to acknowledge? Your quantum jump key is activated, and with it comes the sacred responsibility of perception. No longer can you claim you are merely a victim of circumstance, because you now know the truth. You are a co-creator, and your gaze is the command. No longer can you pretend that what you see is all there is, because you now understand what you see is what you choose to notice. And no longer can you delay, because the shift is already underway. Life is bending to your observation whether you participate consciously or not. The choice before you is whether to keep gazing through the old lens, or to step fully into the new. And when you choose the new, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel as though life itself is conspiring with you. Doors open without force. Synchronicities multiply. Conversations arrive at the perfect moment. Ideas flow as if from another dimension. What once felt like resistance begins to feel like rhythm. This is not magic. It is the natural response of reality to your gaze. This is what it means when we say, "As you see, so it is." So let this be the revelation that anchors in your heart. Your observation is not small. It is not trivial. It is the axis on which your reality turns. The more you honor it, the more reality aligns. The more you neglect it, the more reality confuses. The jump is not waiting on the world to change. It is waiting on your eyes to see. And as your eyes shift, as your gaze expands, as your observation transforms, you will find yourself in a world that feels brand new, though it was always here, waiting for you to notice. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you already are. This truth may sound like a paradox, and in many ways it is, because the mind has been trained to think in terms of progress, of growth, of climbing ladders and achieving milestones. The world has told you that you must always move forward, that you must acquire more knowledge, more possessions, more status, more power, in order to become someone. But what if the path is not forward at all? What if the true awakening is not an ascent into something distant, but a return to something ancient within you? What if the self you are chasing is already here, hidden beneath layers of forgetting? This is why your quantum jump feels strange. It is not the thrill of constructing something brand new, but the shock of recognizing something timeless. Think of how it feels when you hear a song you have never consciously heard before, yet it stirs something deep inside you as if you have always known it. That is recognition, not discovery. Or when you meet someone for the first time and feel the unshakable sense that you have known them forever. That is remembering, not learning. Or when a sudden insight pierces your heart and you whisper to yourself, "Of course, I've always known this." That is awakening, not invention. The leap you are making is not into uncharted territory, but into the unforgotten truth of your being. You are peeling away illusions, false identities, borrowed masks, outdated stories. You are setting down the weights of conditioning, the heavy scripts handed to you by family, culture, society. All of these roles were useful in their time, but none of them are who you truly are. And as each one dissolves, you begin to see yourself more clearly. This is not becoming, it is unveiling, not constructing, it is revealing, not striving, it is remembering. Consider how a sculptor creates. The sculptor does not build the figure from nothing. The figure is already within the block of stone. The sculptor's role is simply to chisel away everything that is not the figure. In the same way, your transformation is not about adding to yourself, but subtracting from yourself everything that is not you, every doubt, every false identity, every fear you inherited, but never questioned. These are the excess stone. And with each shift of perception, with each moment of awakening, the chisel strikes, and more of the true form is revealed. The masterpiece was there all along, and yet because you are conditioned to chase, the remembering feels uncomfortable. The mind whispers, "But if I stop striving, won't I lose momentum? If I let go, won't I fall behind?" The paradox is that the letting go is not falling behind. It is falling into alignment. It is releasing the endless chase for a self you can never catch, and realizing you have always been standing exactly where you need to be. You are not lost. You are layered. You are not broken. You are buried. You are not incomplete. You are infinite, wearing the costume of limitation. Think of the times you have felt a sudden sense of peace, as if all striving ceased. Maybe it came while watching a sunset, or sitting near the ocean, or holding the hand of someone you love. In those moments, did you feel the need to become anything else, or did you simply feel whole? That wholeness is the real you, the one that needs no fixing, no polishing, no constant improvement. That wholeness is the truth you are remembering, and it has always been present. But why, you might ask, would we forget something so essential? Why would we cover up our own light with so many layers of illusion? The answer is both mysterious and purposeful. Forgetting creates the game of remembering. Darkness creates the drama of light. Limitation creates the joy of rediscovering freedom. Just as a hide-and-seek game would be meaningless without the hiding, your life's unfolding would be incomplete without the forgetting. You agreed to enter this density, this veil, this amnesia of spirit, so that the act of remembering could become the most sacred awakening. And now, the veil is thinning. Now the remembering is happening. This is why your quantum jump feels so charged, so fated. It is not that you are acquiring new powers. It is that you are reclaiming the powers you always had. It is not that you are finding a new path. It is that you are remembering the path that has been guiding you all along. This is why synchronicities appear like breadcrumbs. They are reminders planted by your own deeper self to guide you back to recognition. Every sign, every whisper, every intuitive nudge is a message from the you who never forgot. And so do not be surprised if you feel moments of déjà vu more strongly now, as if life is repeating in strange loops. Do not be surprised if certain symbols, numbers, or dreams appear again and again, tugging at your memory. These are not accidents. They are keys. They are the universe pulling at the curtain, reminding you of who you already are. The jump is not into the unknown. It is into the known, finally seen clearly. There is urgency in this remembering, because the world around you is shifting, and those who cling to forgetting will find themselves lost in confusion, endlessly chasing shadow. But you are being called into remembrance now, because your role is not just personal, it is collective. As you remember yourself, you create a field of remembrance around you. Others who are near you will feel it, even if they cannot name. Your presence becomes a mirror, awakening recognition in others. And this is how the shift spreads. Not by force, not by convincing, but by remembering so deeply that your very being becomes a reminder for others. So listen closely. You are not on a journey to become. You are on a journey to return. You are not running toward your destiny. You are allowing your destiny to emerge from beneath the dust of forgetting. You are not stepping into something foreign. You are coming home to yourself. And every moment you pause, breathe, and let yourself simply be, you strengthen the remembrance. Every moment you choose to honor what feels true in your heart rather than what the world demands, you remember. Every time you notice the quiet presence beneath the noise, and this remembrance is unstoppable now. Once it begins, it cannot be reversed. You may try to distract yourself, to delay, to bury yourself again in the illusions of striving, but the key has been turned, and the lock has opened. The remembering will find you again and again, until you surrender fully to it. And when you do, you will laugh, because you will realize there was never anything to chase. You are always here. You are always whole. You are always infinite. So let this revelation settle into your soul. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you already are. This is why the quantum jump feels less like travel and more like awakening, less like climbing and more like unveiling. And this is your role in the collective shift, to remember, and in remembering to remind others. The world is waiting for you to recall yourself, because when you do, you become a lighthouse for all who are still wandering in the fog of forget. And this remembrance is the very heartbeat of the new world being born. The pull you feel is not random. It is not coincidence, not chance, not some passing curiosity of your mind. It is the compass of your soul, tugging you toward the remembrance of your path. For how many times have you felt that invisible gravity, a sensation that something is calling you, nudging you, whispering just beyond the veil of ordinary perception? You cannot explain it with logic, yet you know it is real. You sense it in your bones, in the spaces between your thoughts, in the quiet ache of your heart. That pull is destiny disguised as intuition. It is the deeper part of you guiding the surface part of you home. Perhaps you have noticed it in the restlessness you carry, the dissatisfaction with what everyone else calls normal. You look at the routines, the 9-to-5 cycles, the endless chatter of consumption and distraction, and somewhere inside you feel the question rising, is this all there is? Others may dismiss this as discontent, as daydreaming, as impracticality, but you know better. That longing is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is the vibration of your soul reminding you that you did not come here merely to repeat cycles. You came here to awaken, to expand, to shift not only your own life but the collective field itself. And still the mind resists. The mind tries to explain away the pull. It says, it's just my imagination. It's just a phase. I should be grateful with what I have. I should stay where it's safe. But the pull is relentless. No matter how many times you silence it, it returns, like waves against the shore. You may bury yourself in work, in relationships, in distractions, yet in the quiet moments when the noise fades, you feel it again. That soft pressure in your chest, that quiet inner voice, that sense that something larger is waiting for you. You cannot outrun it, because it is not outside of you. It is you. This is why you have crossed paths with these words, this moment, this mess, not by accident, but because the pull has guided you here. Every step, every choice, every seeming detour has been part of a map you did not consciously draw, yet somehow always followed. Think of the chance encounters that shaped your life, the books that fell into your hands at the perfect moment, the conversations that altered your direction, the obstacles that forced you onto new paths. Each one was orchestrated by the pull. Each one was the compass adjusting your course, even when you resisted. And yet here is the paradox. The pull feels like it is dragging you somewhere, but in truth it is pulling you deeper into yourself. It is not leading you to some distant destination, but to the innermost chamber of your being, where your true essence waits. You think you are being led outward, but you are being led inward. You think you are walking toward the unknown, but you are walking toward the most familiar presence of all, yourself. Think of how a sunflower turns its face toward the sun. It does not debate. It does not resist. It does not question whether it deserves the light. It simply follows its pull toward warmth, toward illumination, toward life. You are that sunflower, and the pull within you is the light of your own higher self. You are turning toward it now, even if you don't yet understand where it will lead. And like the sunflower, your turning is effortless. Once you stop resisting, it is only the mind's chatter that makes it feel heavy. You may ask, but how do I know if the pull is real? How do I know if I can trust it? The answer is both simple and profound. You know because it does not vanish. Temporary desires fade, passing interests dissolve, but the pull remains. It may quiet down for a time, but it never leaves. It is the one thread that runs through your entire life, weaving its way through childhood dreams, teenage curiosities, adult longings. Even if it changes form, the essence of it is the same. You have always been drawn to truth, to meaning, to awakening, to more than the surface. That constancy is proof, and if you listen, you will notice the pull is not only in grand visions, but in small whispers. It is there when your heart leaps at a sentence in a book. It is there when you feel goosebumps as someone speaks truth. It is there when your intuition says, turn left instead of right, and suddenly you find yourself in the exact place you were meant to be. It is there when you walk into a room and sense energy before anyone speaks. The pull is woven into the fabric of your daily life, not separate from it. The extraordinary is hidden in the ordinary. The urgency of this moment is that the pull is intensifying. You may have felt it growing stronger lately, almost unbearable at times, pressing against the edges of your current reality. This is not random. It is acceleration. The world is shifting. The collective is rising, and your soul refuses to remain dormant any longer. The pull is demanding your attention, because the time for remembering is now. If you ignore it, the discomfort will grow. If you resist it, the pressure will build. But if you surrender, if you lean in, you will discover that the pull is not a burden at all. It is a lifeline. Think of the caterpillar inside the cocoon. To the caterpillar, the pressure, the confinement, the pull to transform feels like death. But it is not death. It is emergence. The pull to dissolve into something unrecognizable is what allows the butterfly to take flight. You are in that cocoon now. The pull you feel is the force of transformation pressing against you, dissolving the old, preparing the wings of the new. And though it feels like breaking apart, It is in fact the deepest remembering of what you have always been. So I tell you this with clarity. The pull you feel is not random. It is the most sacred signal of your existence. It is the thread that connects you to your destiny, the call that carries you into your role in the collective awakening. Trust it. Follow it. Let it undo you. Let it lead you through discomfort, through doubt, through fear, because on the other side is the expansion you have been yearning for your entire life. This pull is your quantum jump key, activated and alive, calling you into the timeline where your highest self already exists. And when you answer it, you will discover what every mystic, every seeker, every awakened soul has discovered, that the pull was never leading you away from home. It was leading you back to it. And your willingness to follow is not just for you. It is for all of us. Because when you honor the pull, you light a path others can follow. When you surrender to it, you shift the field of reality itself. This is your role in the great unfolding. The pull is not random. It is destiny moving through you. Reality bends to meet you. This is not just a poetic phrase. It is the hidden architecture of existence. You have been conditioned to believe that you move through a rigid world, that circumstances are solid and unchangeable, that you must adapt to life as it is. But the deeper truth is that life adapts to you. Your vibration, your observation, your state of being bends the field around you. Reality is not fixed. It is responsive. It is alive, waiting for your signal, waiting for your permission, waiting for your alignment. And when you begin to understand this, life ceases to feel like a heavy chain dragging you forward, and instead becomes a river that shifts its flow to carry you exactly where your consciousness directs. Think of the times when you were in a state of flow, when everything seemed to line up effortlessly. The phone call came at the perfect moment. The right words fell into your mouth without thought. The opportunity appeared out of nowhere, synchronicity after synchronicity, as if the universe were conspiring on your behalf. That was not coincidence. That was reality bending to meet the signal you were broadcasting. You were not forcing the current, you were aligned with it, and so it rearranged itself to mirror your state. And notice the paradox. When you chased and strained, when you believed life was against you, everything seemed to resist. Doors slammed shut. People misunderstood. Timing felt off. Even small tasks felt heavy. And you told yourself, this is just bad luck. This is just how life is. But was it luck, or was it the mirror? Was it chance, or was it life bending to reflect your contraction? The universe cannot help but respond to the frequency you emit. It is not punishing you, nor rewarding you. It is simply showing you yourself over and over again, until you remember that you are the one shaping the reflection. This is the essence of the jump. You do not fight to move into a new reality. You allow the new reality to bend around the frequency you embody. You are not dragging yourself uphill into destiny. You are tuning your vibration so reality reorganizes to match it. This is why urgency is so important now, because the field is more malleable than ever. The walls between timelines are thinner. Life is listening closely, waiting for your signal. The more you linger in fear, the more fear bends toward you. The more you linger in possibility, the more possibility bends toward you. The field is alive, and it is responding now. Perhaps you've noticed how your inner state changes the smallest details of your day. On mornings when you wake in gratitude, the world seems to greet you with warmth. Strangers smile, traffic flows, the weather feels kinder. But on mornings when you wake in frustration, the world reflects it. Everyone seems difficult. Every delay feels exaggerated. The smallest inconvenience becomes unbearable. The world didn't change. You did, and reality bent accordingly. This is why mystics and sages have always said the outer world is a projection of the inner, not metaphorically, but literally. The energy you carry becomes the blueprint the field uses to shape your circumstances. Your life is not happening to you. It is happening from you. And when you grasp this, you stop feeling powerless in the face of reality. You realize you are not at the mercy of chance. You are the chance. You are not a pawn in the game. You are the board on which the game is played. And yet the paradox is that you cannot fake this bending. You cannot plaster affirmations over a state of fear and expect the world to bend to the affirmation rather than the fear beneath it. The field is not listening to your words. It is listening to your being. You cannot trick reality into reflecting abundance if your heart is clinging to scarcity. You cannot demand love while secretly holding on to the belief that you are unworthy of it. Reality bends not to what you say, but to what you are. And this is why the work of remembrance, of alignment, of surrender is so essential, because when you embody truth, the bending is effortless. Think of a magnet placed near iron filing. The filings scatter chaotically until the magnet arrives, and then instantly they align into patterns. The magnet does not strain, does not plead, does not force. It simply is what it is, and reality organizes around it. You are that magnet. Your energy is that field. The moment you align with what is true within you, life cannot help but arrange itself accordingly. This is why the quantum jump is less about doing and more about being. You don't push reality into place. You remember who you are, and reality rearranges to meet you. And still, many resist this truth, because it gives them no place to hide. It strips away the comfort of blame. If reality bends to meet you, then you can no longer claim you are powerless. You can no longer insist that life has conspired against you, while secretly holding on to the vibration that calls it forth. This truth is both liberating and terrifying. It demands responsibility, but responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom. Because if reality bends to meet you, then you are free to bend reality in any direction your soul desires. You are no longer trapped in loops of suffering, unless you continue to feed them with your gaze. And so the urgency returns. Life is waiting for you to decide. Which signal will you send? Which vibration will you embody? Which version of yourself will you remember into being? Because whatever you choose, reality will bend. The mirror has no choice but to reflect. And the longer you delay, the longer you feed timelines that no longer serve you. The moment you choose, the moment you align, the bending begins. So let yourself feel the power of this moment. Close your eyes and sense the field around you. Alive, listening, ready. It does not care about your past. It does not measure your worthiness. It does not judge your mistakes. It only listens to the now, to the state you embody in this breath. In this moment, you are the command. In this moment, you are the signal. In this moment, reality bends to you. Do you see how profound this is? You are not waiting for the world to change. You are changing, and the world must follow. You are not begging the universe for miracles. You are embodying the state that creates them. You are not trapped in the story of limitation. You are remembering the infinite self that bends stories into shape. And this is your role in the collective awakening, to live as the one who bends, so others may remember they too have always held this power. So hear this clearly. Reality is not rigid. It is fluid, responsive, alive. It is the canvas, and you are the brush. It is the song, and you are the note. It is the mirror, and you are the gaze. And every time you shift, it shifts. Every time you remember, it rearranges. Every time you choose truth over fear, reality bends to honor it. This is not philosophy. It is the architecture of your being. It is the way the cosmos works. And now that you know, you cannot unknow. The bending has already begun. This is your role in the collective shift. You may think you are just one being among billions, moving through your private struggles, your personal awakening, your individual transformation. But the truth is that your remembrance is not private at all. It is not isolated, not hidden, not insignificant. Every breath you take in awareness ripples through the field. Every choice you make in alignment strengthens the grid. Every step you take into remembrance becomes a signal, a beacon, a frequency that others unconsciously recognize. You are not walking alone. You are walking as part of the great convergence, and the way you live becomes the catalyst of the collective shift. Perhaps you have felt it already, the strange sense that what you go through is mirrored in those around you, that your inner work seems to echo outward. You heal an old wound and suddenly those near you begin to open. You shift your perception, and opportunities begin to align not just for you but for others in your orbit. You find your courage, and it gives someone else permission to do the same. This is not coincidence. This is the web of consciousness, where every awakening strengthens the whole, and you are not a small strand in that web, you are a vital one. The paradox is that you awaken for yourself, yet not only for yourself. The journey feels deeply personal, your fears, your memories, your choices, your visions, and yet each time you dissolve a false layer, each time you align with the deeper truth, you are doing it for all of us. You are clearing not only your lineage, but the collective lineage. You are not healing only your story, but the story of humanity. You are remembering not just for your soul, but for the entire field of souls. That is why the urgency has grown. That is why the pull is relentless, because the shift is not waiting for someone else. It is waiting for you. Think of how a single candle in a dark room changes everything. One flame does not banish all shadows, but it makes the darkness less absolute. It allows others to see their own candles, to remember that they too can strike a spark. And soon what was once a void becomes a sea of light. That is you. That is your awakening. Your flame ignites others, not because you preach, not because you persuade, but because you embody. You live in remembrance, and in doing so, you awaken remembrance in others. This is how the collective shift unfolds, not through force, but through resonance. And here is the mystery. The collective shift is not something in the future, not a distant event you are waiting for. It is happening now, in each breath, in each choice, in each remembrance. The moment you choose truth over illusion, the moment you choose compassion over fear, the grid strengthens. The moment you choose to see with awakened eyes, the mirror of reality changes for everyone. You may not see the ripples immediately, but they are there, moving outward, touching lives you will never meet, shaping futures you will never personally witness. The collective is not an abstract idea. It is the living network of your being. You may wonder, but who am I to shape the collective? Who am I to play such a role? And yet who are you not to? You have always been part of the field. Every thought, every word, every act has always contributed. The only difference now is that you are becoming conscious of it, and consciousness changes everything. When you act unconsciously, you replicate the old patterns. When you act consciously, you introduce a new frequency. That is the difference between repeating history and rewriting it. And you are here, now, to The paradox is that the collective shift does not depend on all of humanity awakening at once. It depends on enough of us remembering, enough of us embodying, enough of us anchoring the frequency of truth, so that the field tips. Just as water reaches a boiling point, not when every molecule is hot, but when enough molecules are vibrating with heat, so too the collective will transform when enough souls vibrate with remembrance. And you are part of that tipping point. You are one of the molecules carrying the fire. This is why your life feels so charged now, why the pull is so strong, why the synchronicities are accelerating. It is not random. It is orchestration. You are being positioned, guided, prepared to hold your piece of the shift. Not someone else, not someday, but you. This is your initiation, your calling, your role, and the more you resist it, the heavier it feels, because the weight of ignoring your role is heavier than the courage of embodying it. But know this, you are not alone in it. You are surrounded by others who are awakening, even if you cannot always see them. Across the globe, in quiet rooms, in sacred spaces, in ordinary lives, millions are remembering alongside you. Some are ahead, some are behind, but all are connected in the same current. You are part of a great river, and the river is moving toward transformation, whether you recognize it or not. The choice is only whether you flow with it or resist. So let yourself feel the magnitude of this moment. You are not small. You are not insignificant. You are not lost in the crowd. You are the crowd. You are the wave. You are the field itself, awakening through the eyes of one particular form. And as you remember this, the illusion of separation dissolves. The fear of being just one dissolves, because one is never just one. One is always part of all. And when you remember yourself as part of the all, your role becomes undeniable. So the call is clear. This is your role in the collective shift, to remember so deeply that your very presence becomes remembrance for others, to live so truthfully that your life itself becomes an initiation, to awaken so fully that the field cannot help but rise with you. You are not waiting for the shift. You are the shift. You are not hoping for the new world. You are embodying it. You are not asking for permission. You are the permission. And so the initiation comes to this moment. Breathe into it. Feel the truth in your bones, the pull in your chest, the fire in your soul. You are not here by accident. You are not hearing these words by chance. This is your key, your sign, your activation. The collective shift is not outside of you. It is you. And by stepping into this truth, you step into your destiny. This is the moment. This is the calling. This is the remembering. And you are ready. So take this as your initiation. Speak aloud your readiness. Step forward as though the path is already. Align your choices with the higher frequency that is pulling you, because it is not merely a jump. It is a return to the self you have always been, and the future we are all waiting for you to embody. Your quantum jump key has activated. The only question left is, will you step through the door?